looking what you have and using that to push you towards your goal. Solving a problem is the best way to start a business. If you have options, yeah, then maybe like I'll keep interviewing. But if it's between like you having somewhere to live or not live, I believe that you would fix that problem. And there's an open space in the market, freaking do it. Your audience will find you. So just start, see what works. If something doesn't work, pivot, and then find something that works again. And that's that. I just know how to sell things. So sometimes it's the way that you're packaging something, and then sometimes it's just the product and people don't want it. We've all built our following, and they took it away from us. It's a scam. I'm not selling clothes, I'm selling confidence. That is your foundation.
Welcome to Success Story. I'm your host, Scott Clary. The Success Story podcast is part of the HubSpot podcast network. Very exciting news. HubSpot's inbound conference is back, which means you got to clear your schedules, mark your calendars, get the sitter. 3 jam-packed days from September 18th through the 20th, live in Boston. You're going to hear inspirational narratives, candid interviews on the highs and lows of incredibly notable figures, business owners, politicians. You're going to learn from successful entrepreneurs like Ryan Reynolds and Serena Williams on how they've reinvented themselves and their businesses to achieve massive success. They're going to gain valuable insights from industry leaders, visionaries on effective strategies for personal and professional growth, and there's so much more. And on top of all that, I'm speaking again. This is my 3rd inbound, so I'll be doing a segment. So if you want to hear from Ryan Reynolds, Serena Williams, or you want to hear from me, go to inbound.com, go see the lineup, and grab your tickets today. I'll see you in Boston. What does an outsider mean? What is an outsider? How are you an outsider? How is somebody listening to this an outsider, or how are they not an outsider?
I feel like it's hard to not be an outsider. I haven't met many insiders. There are some in my group of people, but I'm an outsider because of my background. Like, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. I didn't have a lot of connections. My dad was like a little crazy and left, and I just didn't have a typical upbringing or many chances in life, which is relatable to a lot of people. That's my definition.
And well, I think that's super relatable to a lot of people, but I also want to highlight something. This is sort of more from my perspective, and you can speak on this as well, because I didn't have like a tough upbringing, but I also understand that my upbringing, it didn't set me up for entrepreneurial success. So I think that sometimes, not that having a tough upbringing is good, but I think that it forces you to look at all the options. And I think there's a lot of people here that maybe didn't even have a tough upbringing, and I think they are actually very likely to just fall into a 9-to-5, maybe something comfortable, because that's all they knew as well. Even when you had a tough upbringing, you fall into what you know. That's probably the chances of falling into something that you know is very high.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can be on the outside. I mean, even if you're an insider, if you walk into something new, like I'm sure when you start for your podcast, you're like, what is this? What's going on? Like, if someone's not holding your hand or walking you through it, you can like be on the outside of a lot of things or feel like you are. So any time in life you can feel like you're on the outside, but it just pushes you and it motivates you to like figure things out. That's really
I like that. I like that. I like that idea. So outsider is not just where you came from. Outsider is this constant state of understanding that if you're taking on something new, like you do have to understand your limitations and what you know, what you don't know, but understand that that is the mindset that everyone has when they first start something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's chess. It's like, let's look at the board. Let's figure out what we have. I mean, looking at what we don't have is not going to help us. It's just going to make it bad. So it's about looking at what you have and using that to push you towards your goal.
So talk to me about your story. So obviously you had not the easiest life growing up. You were in LA. You had an unconventional upbringing. You were homeless at one point as well. So maybe just walk readers through readers. Listen, hopefully, fingers crossed the readers too, because you have a book coming out, but that's a whole other thing. So right now they're listening. So just the origin story.
So we're just getting to know each other. Okay.
Yeah. What do you mean? This is what we do.
No, we moved around a lot. By move around, I mean like from couch to couch or to a car. or I was fortunate not to be on the streets. I had a car, so I look back at my homelessness with like thankfulness that I wasn't on the streets. But I technically didn't have a room until I was like 17, or a door to close or a house to say that's my house and those are where my things are. My mom was always just trying to make a way. She was trying to be an entrepreneur in different like versions like my entire life. So I saw her hustle a lot, and that's kind of where I got my gist for fashion and hustling. When I moved to LA, I still didn't have anything. Even after I graduated from college, I thought, graduated from college, we all thought, like, of course, the job is just going to be handed to me right after I get my diploma. I don't know if I'm a terrible interviewee, but I just could not find a job. I mean, and I'm thankful that I didn't, because it pushed me to start my business. So when I came out here, I also still didn't have anything. But that pushed me.
Wow, but that's after college. So how old are you then?
I was 23.
23.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I tried for the longest to find something in Houston, where I'm from, but it just wasn't cutting it. So I came out here, and I expected for things to fall in my lap again. But because LA is very like competitive, there's a lot of expectations that didn't happen. It's really expensive. So a lot of things that I thought were going to go right didn't go right. And then that pushed me to start Babes, my brand.
That's so scary. And so why do you think you took that entrepreneurial leap? Like, just go back to your sort of what you were thinking through at that moment. Because if I was going to put myself in your shoes and I had nothing but like failure and rejection on all these jobs, I don't think I would have the balls to go start a business. I think I'd be like, shit, like I need to tweak my resume. I better get a job like, waiting or something that can pay the bills, and then just keep trying, because I'm not even succeeding at getting a job, which is supposed to be like the easy thing post college. Who am I to go start, a multi-million-dollar business with no experience? Because something like clicked and switched, and I don't think that is the norm and the normal course of action for most people, which is amazing, but I want to figure that out so other people can emulate that.
My first thought when you said, I don't think that I would, I don't believe you. I feel like if your back is up against the wall and someone's like you really have no option. You're going to be, so when I got out here, I have a trauma with being homeless or being poor. So if you threaten me with that, it's like something clicks. It's like I'm in war. Like I need to my back, I need to make something happen. So when I came out here, my friend allowed me on her couch, but then she was like, listen, you have to pay rent or you got to get out. So I'm like, oh man, I must be homeless again. Oh no, this is not going to happen. I need to come up with some idea. You have to. You'd be surprised at what you can accomplish when your back is up against the wall. If you have options, then maybe I'll keep interviewing. But if it's between you having somewhere to live or not live, I believe that you would.
So, okay. So then the follow-up question is, so what you're talking about is basically using rock bottom or the threat of rock bottom to take action. So maybe you're right. I had a super comfortable upbringing. I never really worried about being homeless, which is a blessing and a privilege for sure. But then somebody listening to this, they're saying, I'm still scared shitless. I don't want to have to architect this really shitty circumstance to go build a business. That's not fun either.
No, no, you don't want to. It's just like that. That's my story. Everyone has their success. I had to go through that. I didn't have to. It was unfortunate. But I used what I went through to get to where I'm at. I don't want you to have to architect it, but there is something that you can pull out of you to get your stuff together. I'm trying not to curse.
You can swear as much as you want. It's fine.
Yeah. It's interesting because I don't want you to have to architect, but it's just, there's so many people out there, and those are the people I'm talking to. I'm talking to people that are actually your back may feel up against the wall. You've never really had, you feel like there's this unwritten code to success. You don't have the answers, And I'm here to tell you that you kind of already do. Like, you've already been through stuff. You've already conquered everything. You just need to dig into yourself and pull it out.
That's tough. So how did you do that? So at that point, I mean, you had fear. Fear was driving you to a degree, obviously. Like, I mean, you didn't want to go back on the street. So how do you do that? What was the first step when you started to build? So Babes was that your first version of entrepreneurship? No, there was probably a ton of other shit that didn't work out. I just know because I...
No, because I feel like I could sell anything. But that's the first thing that worked immediately. And that's when I knew, like, okay, I have something. So that's when I started to put energy. I started with vintage because that's all I knew, because we thrifted my entire life. One, because we didn't have money, and two, just because my mom's like really into it. So I started with vintage. That didn't click, but whenever I launched Babes, and I was lucky to launch in a time where there was like a huge open space in the market for that type of brand, because back then curvy women weren't being celebrated, and there weren't any affordable options for us. So once I launched that and it clicked, I knew I had something, and I put everything that I had into that.
So the thing that actually worked was kind of like building a company for yourself based on your lived experience.
That's what we do. I mean, we all know, like, solving a problem is the best way to start a business. Like, find what you actually struggle with or what you feel like can be fixed, and there's no other option. And if you can do that and fix that problem, and there's an open space in the market, freaking do it.
That's amazing. That's so smart, because you know what? There's this incorrect version of entrepreneurship that you have to be this like Stanford dropout that goes on to build this $1 trillion tech company. And it's so stupid, because I think that holds a lot of people up. I think that people overcomplicate entrepreneurship, and they overcomplicate what it has to be. And then they end up burning out and failing because they see, latest tech mogul that built $1 billion company. But that's where you get the 99% failure rate when you think about how many entrepreneurs fail. But when you figure out a problem you have, and this is what you did.
And it doesn't have to be big. Like, in comparison is like crazy. That's something I'm working on, is trying to stop comparing to.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Like, if I looked at like stories like that and compared mine to theirs, I'd never start. I'd be like, there's no way I could accomplish that. So that's dangerous. That's a tricky road to be on. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't compare. I would just focus within you and figure and be like, the best I wish I would have came up with Uber or Postmates. You know what I mean? Like, if we sit and think, it's like, dang, like, that was like a good idea. If only I would have done it first. Like, there's so many like little things, little problems that we could fix, that we could come up with. It can start off small.
What was the reason for like the brand Babes? What was the inspiration behind the name?
One of my friends came up with it. I just thought it was a cute name, and there's no deep story behind it, honestly.
Oh shit.
I wish I had a deep story for you. I just thought, like, at the time, the word babe, like, this is back in like 2012. Like, I'm a Black girl, obviously you could see from the podcast. It wasn't like a Black term to use. It was more like hot babe, it's like
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just thought it would be interesting for like a Black owned brand to call themselves Babes. At that time, I thought it was interesting, and it was. Now it's like a normal word to use for like literally all women on social media, but back then it wasn't. So it was different.
So we're building this. I love it. I mean, it doesn't have to be. And by the way, like, everything that you've done is a great entrepreneurial lesson, because what I'm trying to show with what you've built is how overthinking can also kill your idea. So how many people overthink on, okay, I got to build the next Facebook or Meta or whatever the hell they want to call it, right? I got to build something that's worth 100 million, and I got to figure out the name and put together a pitch deck and a brand kit and all this.
I'm exhausted listening to it. It's
100%.
My last chapter in my book is just start, because a lot of people just don't start. Once you start, you'll find your audience will find you. Like, you think you know what Babes isn't my brand anymore. It's their brand, and they tell me what they want. And I've learned that like along the way. I came up with an idea. They accepted it. They told me along the way. They helped me make changes. They're like, hey, we don't like this. Hey, we like this. if I'm selling more of this, I know this is more of my best selling brand. If I'm not selling this, then maybe this isn't a product that I shouldn't be selling. Like, it's not mine anymore. It's theirs. So just start, see what works. If something doesn't work, pivot, and then find something that works again. And that's that.
Yeah. How do you know when to quit something versus when you just haven't given it enough time?
I don't know. That reminds me of Shark Tank when he's like, just take it in the back and shoot it.
Yeah, Kevin O'Leary, right? Mr. Wonderful. He said that all the time.
Like, because it's like, he's like, if it's not making money, like, no, but that's hard to say because a lot of the first year is hard and it's such a competitive, if there's not a want, I say if there's not a want within the first year, at least a want. I'm not saying to make like a bunch of money. I'm talking about like saying, hey, that's a good idea, or, you know, like some views or like some clicks or something. If there's not a want within the first year, I feel like you need to either like pivot the way that you're selling or marketing your product, or you take it in the back and shoot it, because you don't want to waste your time. And if you're an entrepreneur like me, I could sell toilet paper, or like I could sell like hair products. Like I just know how to sell things. So sometimes it's the way that you're packaging something, and then sometimes it's just the product and people don't want it. And you just have to like be honest with yourself.
Yeah, because you put so much of your, you know what's difficult? Entrepreneurs, they wrap their identity into the business and then they keep it going for way too long.
Honestly, my identity is wrapped in Babes because I've had it for so long, 12 years. And it's tricky because it's like, yeah, it's hard not to wrap your identity. I don't know how not to. I don't even know how to give that advice. But I do know that there are certain products that I've loved myself that I've had to just let go. Like, they don't want it. They don't want it. So make it for yourself, but they don't want it. But don't waste your time, with that.
So what was your playbook for, because obviously this is a hyper competitive, was it a hyper competitive market? I think it's hyper competitive market. Like
now, yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But when you started it, how did you sort of like carve out a little bit of the market, get some traction, get people?
I did everything that the opposite of what everybody else is doing. It was like, but it was true to me. So it all worked out. My story just so happened to work out because it was true to me. Like, so when I came out on social media, everybody was like, remember when everybody was smoothing their skin and looking crazy?
Yeah. Why has that changed or?
Not really. But they just got better at it. Well, that's another conversation. But I just came out and I was like the natural girl. Like, I'm not going to edit. I don't have time, first of all, and I'm not very good at it. So I just don't want to do it. So that's how I naturally stood out. I did the opposite of what everyone was doing on the internet at the time. And back then when Instagram algorithm was actually great and people saw your post, that was too.
I'm laughing because I don't want to have a whole podcast complaining about Instagram and social media, but if you live on it, you could.
It's terrible. It's a scam what they've done. We've all built our followings, and they took it away from us. We helped them grow this app. I'm sorry. You wouldn't even have to post this because they're not gonna air it.
This goes up on YouTube. They don't give a shit.
Okay, we've helped them build this app for free, and now you're charging us, like making us pay to reach the following that we brought to the app. I feel like it's really scammy, and I don't appreciate it. I'm not accepting it. No.
But so this is the issue in 2024 because nobody knows how to launch a company anymore. It's very difficult. Like, how do you build an audience, right? Organically. So then it becomes very expensive. So, I mean, I've built an audience over the past 6 years, but for most entrepreneurs, like, I'm not going to tell an entrepreneur, go start a podcast for 6 years before you start a company. Maybe it's a smart move, but it's difficult. It's so difficult.
It's difficult. You have to like really diversify. I mean, just like you diversify everything, like your money, like just like Pinterest, or people forget about Tumblr, just anything. Like you're on YouTube or LinkedIn. I started doing like promotions on LinkedIn, and it's like, because people don't expect to be like sold on there. So it's just about being creative, in this market that none of us understand.
So when you started, you were super heavy on Instagram. if you started in 2024, you could no longer build this company on Instagram.
Nope.
Damn.
I'd have to maybe TikTok right when it first came out. I'd have to find my way in. And it wouldn't even be me visually. I would use someone else.
Why is that?
Because I think from what I've studied, I think the more different you look, or if you have, you know what I mean? Like something, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like the stereotypical model looking person that kills it on these platforms anymore.
You need to be different in some kind of way. So I would literally like hire someone that is not me to do my brand if I were to be launching today. But that's just my mindset, because I'm like.
But you study content. You see what's going viral. You see what's hitting.
People look at it and they're like, do I want to watch this, or do I want to see another like regular looking girl sell something?
You know what's so strange though? I've thought about this because I've seen accounts with people that aren't classically good looking, massive audiences, right? And then I wonder, like, well, all those people that were buying products from models 5 or 10 years ago, they still exist. So where did that like section of the market go? Where are they buying their products now? Which brands are they looking at as representations of themselves? Because like the whole concept of a model is it's what you wish you could look like. That was the whole traditional concept of a model. I wish I could look like this person. This person's very aspirational. I remember in high school, as a guy, it was all Abercrombie and Fitch, and then like all the guys were like jacked playing football. It was like a little bit questionable, some of the ads, but whatever. But now if I look at brands, I mean, I have my brands that I buy from, but I don't really pay attention to the models anymore. It's not like these are aspirational. So that's just my personal opinion, but obviously there's a lot more of me, and there's a lot more of you, and there's a lot more people that feel maybe not represented in marketing. So where do these people go, or how do you tap into these groups? Because they still have money, they still buy product.
I think they've either started their own brands.
Everyone should be an entrepreneur.
Literally, like in 2021, I feel like so many businesses were started. Most of my models now have brands, or
Really?
A lot of my customers have brands, because we're all in this entrepreneurial state of mind. Like, no, everyone knows that now. Like, I mean, we can create ads on our phones. So we're like hiring less graphic designers. Everyone feels like they can do everything. So people are starting their own stuff. And I think people are just tired of being sold to by the same, like, I'm over it. Like, I want something different. Yeah. We're used to the models selling us, and hey, it's just like we're scrolling past it. We're overstimulated, and we want something different.
So how do you capture? So as somebody who's building a company, what is your advice for capturing attention, regardless of whether or not it's using people or different types of creative? Because the goal is still to capture attention. So all the models that you worked with that started their own brands, they're trying to capture attention. All the customers that are starting their own brand, and I do believe, I mean, like, barriers to entry for entrepreneurship are at an all-time low. Now you have AI, now you have all these awesome tools. You can spin up something overnight with not too much money, and you don't even have to be technical anymore. So you can go ahead and do it. But how do you capture attention?
It depends on the product. It depends on what you're doing. You have to just study it from there. Like, you either want to fix a problem, you want to find a pain point. So like I'm not selling clothes, I'm selling confidence. I'm selling like a woman's feeling good about her body. So you have to find that, and then that is your foundation. It really depends. I can't say this is how you do it if I don't know what product. If I'm selling toilet tissue, I'm selling like, how does your bum feel? You know what I mean? Like,
no. Okay. So take your example. So how do you sell I feel confident?
How do you sell I feel confident with, I'm a woman, so I know what makes me feel snatched. I know what makes me feel good. Like, women, we don't like to bloat. Mm-hmm. We don't like to feel more overweight than we are. Like, even if you're embracing like whatever weight you are, you don't want to feel like, you know what, like today I'm just like extra bloated. So I sell the snatch. I sell, like, you can put these leggings on and your body will be snatched. I don't care what it looks like. It's going to look good. That's my version of selling confidence.
I love it. I love it. So you have to find a way to translate that pain point and make it so real for people. And I think that also I think that you did a really good job of figuring out what an actual pain point is, as opposed to just assuming what somebody cares about or doesn't care about. I think too many entrepreneurs, they maybe have a little bit of an ego and they think they come up with a great pain point and then nobody in the market gives a shit.
It helps if it's your own. That's my own pain point. That's something I struggle with. So I know, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't feel good. So let me do it to fix. It starts with me. All of my products are really selfish. Like, it starts with me. Like, I want this. And after that, then I'm like, will someone else buy it? Is this relatable? Like, let me ask my friends, like, does this work for you? And then it starts with you. It helps if it starts.
So start with you, figure out the pain point. You were capturing attention on social, but obviously you have to find a way to do that in 2024. You didn't raise money for this company at all. This was all bootstrapped, right? So this is all you just like scrappy as shit.
Yeah,
getting it done.
I remember 10 to 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 500. I remember like seeing the numbers go up because I was trying to hold on to it. And I'm like, one day I will save $500. And then once I saved $500, I was like, hey, I will save $1,000. I will save $10,000. Very much like small goals.
Do you think that is an issue that entrepreneurs have? They want to see this huge $50 million, $100 million exit, and they lose track of what actually matters at the beginning.
Yeah, start small. Small goals get you to bigger goals, and they're better on your ego.
I like that.
You know, I like goals, but I like accomplishable goals as well. So it's like, all right, I can see myself saving $50, and once I save that, I'm proud of myself, and then I can move on. Small goals, they feel better.
And plus, I think that you have to celebrate wins. I think that's one thing that people forget a lot, how many times they win in their life, in their career, in their business. And I was thinking about this, like, so I have a belief. I believe that if you have product market fit, that's the first assumption. But I believe that if you stick with something long enough, you'll find a way to make it work if you have that product market fit and if you track the KPIs, you're moving in the right direction. But I was always trying to figure out, why is it so hard for people to stay on this path for so long? And I think it's because they start with motivation and then they set these audacious goals and then something doesn't work and then they focus on the negative and they don't realize they've won 10,000 times already.
Yeah, 100%. And you're going to fail. Usually, entrepreneurship is not, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. Like even now, me 12 years later, like there's some days that aren't going to be good. It's not going to just be like it's when people expect this and this doesn't happen in life. I don't know it.
Everything's up and to the right. Everything's working out all the time. Never happened.
But I've never like seen it. So let's stop expecting it and just realize that this is a failure. We've learned from it. We know not to do that. Okay. Let's not. And let's keep moving.
What was your biggest, I want to say failure, but not failure, like shit hitting the fan moment that is like traumatized you from building your business?
When I experienced success so Kim Kardashian posted me back in 2008, I think, and I was excited, but then I was embarrassed of how my business looked because I felt like it wasn't like professional looking enough. I felt like, because a lot of the models I used were my customers, a lot of the pictures were all over the place. I was insecure with the attention that I was getting at that time, so I changed my business at that time. The dumbest thing I've ever done, because I didn't realize what built me was that. And when I got all of that attention, I wasn't even looking like myself. And yeah, I could have done better during that time.
That's so interesting. How did you change your business? Like, what was the
I use like models I wouldn't traditionally use. I stopped posting as many customers because it wasn't the aesthetic. Because you wanted the aesthetic on your page.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, fuck the aesthetic. It's about because most people don't go to your grid anyway. They're on the timeline. Yeah. We go to our grid more than most people. I mean, maybe upon an introduction of your page, but after that, I'm done with your grid. I'm on my timeline. So that shouldn't matter. Yeah, I switched everything up, and I shouldn't.
Did that hurt? Like, did it hurt your revenue too?
Yeah, 100%.
Significantly when you did that? And then how long did it take you to recover after that?
It didn't take long because I switched it right back.
That's so fun. That's so funny. That's such a...
Like, literally, like, no. If something's not going well, I'm like, hold on, we need to have a meeting. Meaning just me. I need to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with what I'm doing. It's not I never blame the other people. Like, oh, they just don't get it. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Something's off. Because it was working. Now it's not working. It's something that either something changed with me, something changed with them, something changed somewhere. And I knew it was me. So I flipped it right back.
I just want to take a second and thank the HubSpot Podcast Network for sponsoring the show's success story. We've been part of their network for the past 3 years now. If you're a podcast fan, you have to check out some of the other incredible podcasts in the HubSpot Podcast Network, like My First Million, hosted by Sam Parr and Sean Puri. They feature famous guests like Alex Hormozi, Sophia Amoruso, Hassan Minhaj, sharing their secrets on how they made their first million and how to apply their learnings to capitalize on today's business trends and opportunities. Listen to My First Million wherever you get your podcasts. I love the awareness though. I think that's also a major like winning trait. The self-awareness is huge. So
yeah,
we totally need that.
Being on the internet for so long and being critiqued a lot. So it's just like, now I'm like, yeah, that's not right. Like, let me get this together. Let me fix it. Let me get in the fix it mode instead of the I feel like crap mode. Because that's...
Do you feel like there was an advantage from being an outsider when you built this business? Outside of like the rock in a hard place, outside of the rock bottom, all these rock analogies, but outside of the... But you feel like there's an advantage going into this? Yeah,
I feel like just being, I can adapt and pivot better than anyone else because I'm so used to it, and I wasn't comfortable growing up, so I was just used to things shifting, used to things not going right. And that happens a lot in entrepreneurship. Like even now, like even when trying to sell anything. So I don't get in my feelings about it. That's just something I'm naturally good at. And it really comes in handy in entrepreneurship.
Talk to me about just dominating a niche, because I think you've done that super well. And I think that's probably something that entrepreneurs also screw up. They seem to just want to be everything to everyone. So maybe just talk to me about what you've built with Babes, the niche that you dominate. And have you thought about going outside it, or do you want to stick right in it? And when do you do that too? Because I think if you're too general at the beginning, maybe that hurts you, but you can generalize later. Just talk to me about, because I think I want to talk about, we've spoken a lot about like you doing it now as a concept. I want to talk about niche. I want to talk about like community building. I think that's huge too, because you've done that super well. But first niche, because I think that's one thing that entrepreneurs screw up too when they first start.
Yeah, with me, I started, we know it's like an underlying thing, women with curves. You know what I mean? Like, it's what it means to you. You know who I'm talking to though. I'm talking to like women with like actual curves, but there are thin women that feel like they have curves. So it's helpful. I do believe that narrowing it down a little bit is smart, but being general with your marketing. So it's like, yeah, I'm marketing to women with curves. I'm for you. I'm like the place where you need to be. But also, you know, thin women have curves too, or feel like they have curves. Or like I could have products there, but my main market, it's important to have a main focus, because then you look all over the place. And they need to, like, when they think of something, they need to think of you. When you think of women with curves, I want you to think of me. But if I left it too general, then that's confusing. I think in the beginning, building.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, when you think about all the different people that you serve as a brand, it's interesting though, because you have skinny women who think they have curves, and then you have women with curves, but do you feel like, would they get the best possible outcome by buying from your brand, like a skinny woman with curves, if that's not who it's meant for? Like, does that hurt your brand to include them in the marketing and include them in?
Because women with curves don't want to see skinny women in their marketing. Unfortunately, like anyone, like if you go to a brand for a specific thing, like I'm a plus woman and I'm size 3X. Do I want to see like a bunch of skinny models? No, I want to look at bodies like mine. So it is hurtful, but you
know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to figure out what's the balance.
You want to be, there's enough space for skinny women that they can be ignored. You know what I mean? Like they're like we've focused on them for so many years that it's kind of like it was time to make a shift. So it was a safe space for me to be like women with her.
But also that's the competitive advantage too for you. Like that is a competitive advantage. So I think that when you're building a business, I mean, forget about, the fact that skinny women have been served for forever. The point is you're building a business. You're not trying to be this feel good thing for every person in the world. You're building a business, right? So you have to figure, okay, what's the strategy to make money? And if you're not being an asshole to the other groups, you're just not including them in your marketing, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, you're not out to get anybody, but you have your person, you have your customer. I think that's smart. And I think that you shouldn't build.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't build yet another business that focuses on skinny women. That wouldn't even been smart. It's too competitive and I don't have time to be competing with that. Because of my life has been so hard, I like easy things. So if I find like an easy, make it easy. I do not want to build yet another brand and compete with like all of these other brands. If there's an open space, I'm going to go over there, especially if it's true to me. It was just the smartest thing that I could do at the time.
I love it. It's wild to me because when did you start Babes? What year did you start? 2012? That there still wasn't more options for curvy women in 2012. It's not like this was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, right. It was plus maybe, but like ugly stuff, very ugly stuff. Terrible. Or really bad. Or it was skinny. There was no like medium and there weren't clothes that looked like mine. And if there were, they weren't affordable.
It's wild though.
A big thing, remember? Like, not,
yeah, well,
you know what I mean? So I just kind of like, I was lucky enough to get into, I found an open space. E-commerce was just like popping. Instagram had just started like a year before, I think. So I had all of those things working for me at the time.
Yeah. And it's important. Like you have to understand with every success story, there's like right time, right place. But I think that if you take it and people say like, well, that was luck, but I disagree, because if you take enough shots, you'll find your own luck. You just got to be aware of what's out there, right? So now in 2024, you want to start something different, social, different strategy, different markets, different niche, whatever. But you take enough shots and you're a smart person, you'll make your own luck. But
100%. If I were to start something now, I'd have a completely different strategy. It's just, I'm talking about when I started something and I think luck is a part. It is a part. People should talk about like, hey, like, you know what I hate seeing is a lot of like people that are really successful and they're like, this is all you have to do. Use the people that you know. Well, you know Kanye. I don't know Kanye. You know what I mean? It's terrible advice. So everyone.
By the way, that also doesn't always work out. So if you look at Kim Kardashian's private equity firm, they're actually really struggling to raise money right now. So it doesn't always. It's not like she's hurting financially, not looking for sympathy, but the point is,
oh no,
luck does play a piece into it. But I think that if you overemphasize that someone else just did it because of luck, yeah, you can complain and you can, bitch about it, but it's not going to help your situation. I think that taking more shots will help you manufacture your own luck to a degree.
Oh, 100%. It's just numbers. Take a bunch of shots, and if you take less shots, you have a less % chance of everything. Exactly. In that way. It's not simple. It's hard, and it feels just shitty while it's happening. But we all know, like, the more people you date, you may find somebody. Like,
exactly. It's just a number. Everything's a numbers game. At the end of the day. You built a massive community around Babes. I'm sure you have your own mentors, you have people that you work with that are part of that, but how do you get this cult-like following around a brand? Because I think everybody would love to do that, but I think it's very hard to do. So you didn't just sell product, you created cult-like following. How do you do that?
I have not a personal relationship with them. I stalk my customers. I'm like a stalker. I will stalk you after this. But I, I stalk my customers. I know where they live. I know what they buy versus where they live. When they buy certain things that don't make any sense to me, I go to their page and I'm like, oh, okay, makes sense. She's on vacation. I get it. That's why she's buying like neon. And I talk to my customers. I ask them questions and I take their input. And when I do take their input, I make sure that they know. Like, hey, based off of what you said, you guys didn't like this, but you like this. So I'm going to do this. Or what do you guys think about this color? You don't like this color? Okay, great. Like there's a personal relationship there. So they feel like they know me. They feel like they have access to me. And that's how I built such a
community. Cult, whatever. Cult, community. I love it. It's good. It's so good.
They're like my friends. And also they pay my bills and I appreciate them. And they know that. And I'm like, listen, you guys pay my bills. Thank you. Thank you for continuing to order it from me. Thank you for like 2 orders today. I talk to them yearly at the end of every year. When my mom was sick, I sent out an email like, hey, y'all, can't do it. Can't do it. Like, I'm just going to put this up. Shipping may be slow. This is what's going on in my life right now. I can't. Like, I have they are my family. And I treat them like that.
So when you say that, it makes so much sense. And it seems like that should be the status quo for what an entrepreneur should do for their customers. First of all, it doesn't seem like many people do that because I've bought a lot of products and I don't ever get emails like that. Very rarely. A good friend of mine, Aaron Spivak, he sold a company called Hush Blankets out of Canada for like $49 million. And it was an awesome exit. He built it for about 10 plus, I don't know how many years, a long time. But what he would do is he would actually get on Zoom calls with his customers that just bought and ask them, like, why did you buy these blankets? Like, I don't understand. Like, he was joking. Obviously, he wants to promote his product, but he's like, please, like, tell me, why would you buy my blankets? And first of all, then he did this the entire time he's building this company, like up to when he sold it. And they were buying. So not only did he get good feedback, but he noticed that every customer that he got on a Zoom call with, they thought they were like celebrities because the founder of this company is getting on a Zoom call with them, and they actually ended up buying blankets for all their friends and their family, and the total value of the customer was like 10x.
Yeah, right. So people want to. They want. People are nice. They're nice. They want to support people that feel like they're thankful for it. I mean, yeah, they buy from like Amazon and people they don't know, but also like it helps to have that personal, that you're a real person. It helps when you're building and you're not like a super duper celebrity. For us small people, we have to work harder, and that's genius. I'm gonna steal that idea. That's smart.
You should. It's a great idea. You should do it 100%. But
another point, huh?
Yeah. Listen, no. So business is hard work, but it's not complicated. Like, all the ideas and the strategies are out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything that's rocket science. Sometimes it helps to hear things back that you already know and that already makes sense to you. That's all we're trying to do. Is just remind you like what you.
How do you? Okay, so I have a theory, because I think that what we just spoke about with Aaron and what you do with your customers, that's a very brick and mortar mom and pop mentality where you love your customers, you care about your customers. Now, we now start our businesses from our bedroom. We drop ship stuff. We set up Shopify. We have no physical interaction with customers. They're just a name and an email. And then I don't know why, maybe you have an idea why we're so scared to put ourselves out there and say, hey, this is my company, I'm building it, let me be real with you. But I think it's a mixture of probably a little bit of imposter syndrome, because everybody has it, combined with we're isolated. And it's convenient to look at customers as a number instead of a real person. And I think it's a very toxic way to build a business. I don't think it's a way that anyone really before our generation has ever built businesses, because even the tech behemoths of the world, they started with people sitting down in a room with the VC raising money, sitting down in a room with an engineer. Like this whole virtual building and isolation is very new. It's very, very new. So I don't know. There's a lot that goes into this shitty situation where you have this unpersonal relationship with your customers. But I think one of the things is imposter syndrome, because I think that you don't feel like you want to put yourself out there, talk about your mom being sick and saying that's why shipping's slow. So I'm sure you've had it, because I've had it. How do you get over it?
I don't know. So they asked me this yesterday, and this is a constant question. I don't know. It's so hard. The best thing I could do is say, know yourself. I know myself, and I know if I pay too much attention to someone else, I'm going to compare myself and I'm going to feel like shitty. It starts with comparison for me. If I didn't know what was going on, maybe I'd be in my own world and be like, everything's great. And I'm just doing amazing. I just know that hurts it. Imposter syndrome, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that one. That one is a struggle, even for me today. I'm nervous before every podcast. I'm nervous before every post, putting myself out there. It's hard. It's a vulnerable thing that you're doing. So I'm so sorry. I don't have a quote for that one. You help me.
How do I get over it? I track my wins. I look at all the times I haven't fucked up, and I'm like, why would I fuck up this time if I've killed it so many times in the past? I think that's one thing that because I also, not for podcast, for me, it's more when I speak on stage. It's a pretty classic fear, but how did I handle that? I just did it more.
You just do it. Doing it more that's the thing.
Yeah.
Do it more and then it'll become easier. But there may always be that little gremlin that's nagging at you. So I think, that's smart to just track your wins and be like, hey, I did this podcast. This worked. No one died. So I now look for small little speaking gigs just close to home. So I'll just go and do them just on purpose. That's the hack. So then when I get put on stage in front of 5,000 people, I've done it 30 times that year, because there's not many 5,000 plus person opportunities that you're going to get access to, even if you're a big speaker. There's only so many rooms that are that big, right? So yeah, I would just find little meetups, little entrepreneurial gatherings, and just let me do my thing. I love that. I actually do love that, because the more you do it, for sure. Even with these podcasts, because this is the most I've done, obviously, on this book promotion. The more I do them, the more I'm comfortable. I'm learning, I don't like the questions before because they trip me out and they give me anxiety. So it's just, it's doing it more and learning what makes you more comfortable, and realizing it's okay. It's not that big of a deal, usually, what you're tripping about. There's so much stuff going on in the world. What you're tripping about is probably very small. So just relax. You tripping yourself out is just going to make it worse. So just take a breather. Don't do caffeine before important things, which I did this morning. That's my one advice. Because
of that, it ups anxiety. By the way, if you do drink caffeine, is another piece of advice, because I like caffeine because it helps me, it raises the energy. It helps me a little bit with my thinking, and helps me just, my clarity of thought. But L-theanine actually reduces the stress from caffeine. So what I found when I get into a stressful situation, so it's on a podcast and someone asks me a question, or I lose my train of thought, or in front of an audience, what I'm trying to avoid is this fight or flight response taking over and then building up, and then your cortisol levels and your anxiety, and then it's you can't even bring it back, and because now you're in this.
Yeah, I think
so. That was one strategy.
Yeah, I love that. The more you trip yourself out, because when I've gone into two things really nervous, I look at myself, and I'm I'm not even myself.
But that's also, I would also say that in podcasting, at least, it's my job to make you feel just relaxed. That's actually my job. That's actually why I don't even like doing virtual podcasts, because then an in-person podcast is so much more chill. It's so much more relaxed. But if the podcast host is this is a lesson for all podcasters. If you're making your guest feel stressed as shit, that's not a good podcast.
No. it helps like the conversation, like how me and you just kind of like we're just like talking. That's helpful. Not us teaching people how to podcast. That's not the point of this podcast, but yeah.
No, it isn't.
My experience. Or like, it's like we're getting to know each other. Like you're technically a stranger. And although like we agreed to this interview, I still want us to treat us like we're just sitting down and like warm me up a little bit. Don't start off so deep. Ask me like some light stuff and then move to the heavy stuff. Yeah.
How was, okay, so obviously, you know, you built a massive brand, you've built Babes. Talk to me about how you look at building out your personal brand, how you decided to write a book and that whole process, because I mean, you're not just throwing shit into the wind and hoping it sticks. You are strategic. You built a massive audience, which is super impressive. And like even right now, we're talking about how to launch a business on social in 2024, and you have very specific ideas about how to do it. So I know that the shit you're doing is very intentional. So why you're laughing? I mean, maybe, yeah.
So, no, I started this. I wanted to write a business book. I started when my mom was in the hospital. I had a lot of time on my hands, but throughout it was just a business book. I just wanted tips because that's the type of books I like. Give me tips. Give me the meat. How do I get to this, from this to that? But throughout writing it, my publisher, they saw some of my stories, so it became what it is now. So that was actually on accident. That was something I couldn't have let happen. And there's a lot, like there's strategy and then there's things you just kind of let happen, because I knew that my typical boring business book probably would have reached as many people as I wanted it to. My story was just, it was going to push it further. And that's how we ended up where we are now.
And when you think about where you want to take your brand in the future, I mean, you said it, like social's tough, like Instagram's tough. When you write a book, this is more for somebody who is in the position of like, I want to be a thought leader, subject matter expert, whatever. Like, how did you, what are you personally using this book for? More strategically, I guess I want to understand, because I'm learning, listen, I'm selfish too. I want to learn how to leverage a book to grow my brand, get more speaking gigs. I'm laughing. It's ironic that you had anxiety about going on podcasts, yet this is why you write the book, to get more media exposure.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I just want, it's all about, it's the corny reasons of actually helping people, like the honest, corny reasons of just helping people that felt like how I did. But also because I'm also thinking business, it's about building my brand. So it's like, it's about, in the end goal, it's about making my brand me, my actual brand, whatever other brand I want to start. If I sell this brand or sell that brand, it's just about building me. And that is what the book is hopefully going to do. It's just more eyes, and more eyes gives you more opportunity to be successful. Yeah, I forgot the question, but I went on.
No, that was it. That was
okay.
it.
Okay.
When you think about, you built this brand, when you built Babes, a lot of it was through your name. So, and through, and your social and everything like that. Have you thought about how to remove yourself from it so that you can sell it? Is that a concern or no?
Not right now, because I'm still, no, because I don't think I need to remove myself to sell it. I think first of all, I would never sell 100%. I need a little
a residual.
Give me a little percentage. But yeah, I think it's still growing with me. Like I haven't like had a kid yet or become with child, or that's the same thing. Or, you know, saying like, so I have a maternity line coming. If I have kids, I have a kid line coming. It's going to grow with me, but it's not even personally me. These aren't crazy experiences that I'm having. These are experiences all women are going to have. And that's what I say in my brand. It's going to follow you throughout your life. Like we'll be with you when you're having a baby. We'll be with you after you have the baby. We'll offer kids clothes, maybe, like hopefully in the future. I want to start using old, like I just was looking at older models before this call, like women in their 50s, women in their 60s, because I'm trying to think ahead. Like once I get that age, am I still going to be able to model my brand or promote my brand? So it's going to continue to grow with me, but it's not so personal that it can't be sold, because it's relatable to everyone. It's chapters a lot to go through.
Where do you think, do you think that there's still massive opportunity for entrepreneurs, or even for where you want to take Babes? Like, what is untapped right now?
Untapped. Oh, what I'm working on, Untapped. This girl, she reached out to me. She's actually another Penguin author. She's a newly disabled person as of 5 years. So she's in a wheelchair, and she told me adaptive clothing sucks. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Adaptive clothing for.
That's interesting.
Yeah. She's like, it's ugly. It sucks. They assume that because it's adaptive, it's like old people clothes, like things that don't have buttons, because a lot have problems with their hands, or they need, like with, I have a jean brand. So she needs something she has to be able to pull up and not unzip. So that's the untapped place in the market that I'm going to next, that I'm working on currently.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Adaptive clothing sucks. Look it up. It's ugly. But I'm going to fix that. Make it sexy. I'll make it sexy for you.
Good. I'm down for it. I'm down for it. So I guess let's, I want to send people to go check out what you're building, send people to Babes, to your social. And I'll do a couple just rapid fire to close it out. But is there anything that we didn't go into? I'm just giving you the floor. Anything, any words of wisdom, advice, things that you wanted to go into that we didn't go into yet? But if not, that's cool too. But
good. I think you did a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I might do a couple more. Where can people connect with you? Where do you want to send people? What's your social, your website, all of that?
Social is Ciera Rogers, website ciararogers.com. Easy
enough. All right. Okay. So I would say let's do this. Last couple questions. If you were going to tell your younger 20-year-old self one thing, what are you looking at me for? Why are you giving me that face? If you're going to tell your 20-year-old self one thing, it's like the easiest. This is like a lob. This is like I'm putting this question so you can just like destroy this question, so you can just smack it down. Like,
gosh, you getting deep on me at the end. Okay, sorry. If I was going to tell it's my 20-year-old self something, I would say, if you stop distracting yourself with the way things are supposed to look like, you would move towards success a lot quicker. Because I was distracted at that time. At 20, I was like, this is the way life is supposed to be. I'm taking all of these steps and they're not working. I was spending way too much time on that instead of what I was capable of. Yeah, distracting. Stop being distracted. And look,
I love that.
All those good things. And just say, some shit is about to happen that's gonna like traumatize you. So just traumatic people laugh a lot. I hope we can cut a lot of those things. I don't want people to think I'm crazy, but some shit is going to happen. So just don't let it weigh you down too much. You can conquer that as well, like you've done everything else.
I love that. I think that's important. I think that's so important. You built this brand on sort of owning a lot of your own adversity and owning a lot of the shit that's happened to you and putting that into it. What would be just some advice for somebody that's going through adversity, that's going through some shit? It could be similar to yours. It could be different. Just like a word of wisdom based on what you went through.
Look, it sounds corny, but looking at the positive will keep you safe. Like I was living in a car, but I'm like, I have a car. And I'm looking downward and I'm looking at people on the street. I'm looking at the world and how there's, not to get political, but there's a lot of things happening. So it's just like looking up will keep you sane and keep you going towards the right goal if you're going through something.
When you look at all the sort of the success you've had, obviously you went from living in a car, $10 to your name, to building a multi-million-dollar brand. You worked with Kim Kardashian, or they shouted you out. You were praised by Kim Kardashian and Beyonce, which is absolutely wild. Phenomenal. So different seasons to your life for sure. But you look forward. You can talk about what success means for Babes and for the brand. That's cool, and maybe just speak on that and where you want to take it, but also what does success mean for you in the future?
I just want to do something that, because clothes are great And fashion is great, but I want to like change something. I want to do something deeper. And I think that I made a lot of women feel confident in ways that they haven't felt before. I'd like to dive deeper into that. I don't know what that looks like for me, but I want to make an actual shift in the world in some kind of way.
Don't laugh. That's good. Don't.
You know what I mean? Like, I want it like, because I'm going to leave this earth one day, but I'd like to make my mark in more than just making women feel sexy, which is great. And I think that's important, but I'd like to dive deeper into that, whatever that looks like. So it could be the adaptive clothing. It could be something else. I'm not sure what it is, but that would be my goal.
I love it. All right. Well, what were you going to say? No, go ahead.
I was gonna end with, I know this is I just want to say success looks different for everyone. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Like we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, but it's really hard, and your version of success may be different. So whatever version that is, it's okay. I try not to push that so much, because it's like entrepreneurship is hard, and it's hard. Not everybody wants to do that. You may want to do something else, and that's okay.
And by the way, not everyone has to do that either. It's not a mandatory. It's a
okay. It's actually better for us. Let's compensate.
Yeah. No, I think just on that thought, we push entrepreneurship and like this hustle culture way too much, and we don't really tell people what it is like when you're building your own thing. And I think that more people, I don't give a shit if someone wants to build their own company. I mean, I love entrepreneurs. It's all I do now. But I think that more people have to understand like what they're getting themselves into. I think that's huge, because then you have these people that are building and they're entrepreneurs and they're stressed about money and they're isolated, and mental health issues and relationship issues and physical health issues and all this shit.
Oh, well, we didn't even talk about the relationship issues when you're an entrepreneur, because your relationship is your business. And then, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot that you get into. A lot of people don't talk about like how hard it's going to be. They just show like how great it is, because that sells the product that they're selling. Yeah. I can't get on there and be like, oh, guys, I had a bad sales day. That's not going to sell any product. I have to say like, oh, we're doing amazing. Look at all my orders. So it's important to talk about like what you're getting into. So while someone is in it, they can see and expect it.
Do you think, I mean, even just to get your opinion, because I have my own thoughts on this, I think it's very hard. I think it's very hard for most people to hold down a really strong relationship when they're building something, unless you're setting expectations from the get-go, because it can be all consuming your energy, your time. And I think that most people, again, they don't understand what they're getting themselves into, and their partner definitely doesn't either. And that can hurt a lot of relationships.
Oh, 100%. It's hurt. Yeah. Some of mine, just because it's like it's what I know. And I'm such a hustler, and I'm like, listen, I have to do this. So you support me on this, or goodbye.
But that is, so not enough people say that, and then they let this thing drag on where there's just this resentment, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So they're not saying the goodbye, which sucks, or they're not even saying that at the beginning, which also is incorrect. And then there's this massive amount of resentment and hate for each other, but it's because it's this thing that you're trying to build that gets in between. And if you knew what you're getting yourself into, you could at least set the other person up and set their expectations, which I think is very important.
They're not an entrepreneur themselves, which I'm like, I don't know how people do it, but that's another podcast. We'll figure that out on the next one.